Hi, welcome to Arcam. I'm your host Ryan, and thank you for tuning in today. So there has been a lot going on in the world, and I have some content that I'm working on, but I want to put out something in the meantime and just talk about an issue that I think is really prevalent right now, and I believe that's the silence of Christians. So Christians don't feel confident or don't feel bold enough to talk about some of the issues that we're facing today. And I want to challenge you guys to just think a little bit differently than we have before, because in our culture today, we are exposed to a lot of lies. And it seems like almost every single day we are bombarded by the media with untruth. So much so that it is difficult to discern the truth from the lies. And even if you're somebody who has freed yourself from the shackles of deception, you face another barrier. Those who are still living in this web of lies, those who are still living in the matrix, they just can't see. And even if you try to speak to them, if you try to share truth with them, it's perceived as an attack on their identity. And if we're being honest, in many ways it is. If you're someone whose identity is wrapped up in lies, then when you're confronted by the truth, you're going to believe you're being attacked. And it's unfortunate that that's the case, but that is the case. And lies have consumed the identity of many of the people living in this world. And this shouldn't come as a shock to somebody who professes to be a Christian. We should expect this. And it does stand to reason that the people that are bound by these lies, or that have bought into these lies, they're not going to be very receptive if you are stating the truth on a matter. They might perceive it wrongly. They might think view you as the enemy. In many ways, you are, because the truth stands diametrically opposed to lies. You can't be in the truth if you're still living in lies. And we know that darkness and light are not compatible. So, and I say this too as someone who was in the dark. So I know the lies of the world all too well. And it's because the world had convinced me of them. My identity was wrapped up in much of what the world thought. It convinced me that I was alone. It convinced me that there was no hope. It convinced me that nothing I would do would ever amount to anything. But then God's love broke through, and in a split second, every lie I had ever been told came crumbling to the ground, and I could finally see. And that's why it is so important for us as Christians to stand firm in what we believe to be true. Truth is not some subjective thing as the world would have you believe. There is no my truth. There is no your truth. There is no their truth. There is only the truth. And I happen to believe the truth is found in the gospel. And once your eyes are open to who Jesus is, then all the lies of the world begin to unravel. And it becomes increasingly easier to spot lies when you see them. And it even emboldens you to stand firm in that truth. And I believe right now one of the only ways to combat a culture of deception is to speak up for what is true. As Christians, we have a responsibility to be people who speak the truth no matter the cost. And I know that's easier said than done. Believe me, I know. But I believe the truth is always worth it. And this is where we really have to count the cost. Because standing for truth is going to cost you something. It just is. It's not gonna be easy. You're gonna lose friends. You might lose your job. You might get slapped with a label on social media. You might be doxxed. You might have a mob show up outside your house. Those things might happen. But here's the truth. If you stand for what is true, you're inevitably going to face conflict. See, the truth can be divisive because it's cutting through the lies that we're told by this world. And sometimes that's going to cause a visceral reaction to what you're saying. But we cannot waver. We can't be people who claim to know the truth, then leave our brothers and sisters in darkness. That's not the way. We need to be people who are willing to stand firm in our convictions, even at great cost. We can't be complicit in the lie. Not anymore. The result is what you see unfolding before your eyes. Look at our culture. Look at the lies that people have bought into. And think about some of the things that are now controversial, that shouldn't be controversial. It should not be controversial for me to say that biological sex is a real thing. But if you say that, there are some that would label you as a transphobe or a bigot, because they believe that gender is now this abstract, ever-changing thing. And it's not. We can't be complicit in lies. We just cannot. Telling the truth, even when it's unpopular, is an act of love. And the people on the receiving end, they might not see it that way. But if we love them, we have to love them enough to be honest with them, even if that hurts. Man, I've had some people come speak into my life and tell me, hey, you're not doing this right, or correct me on an issue. And yeah, it was painful in the beginning. But they love me enough to support me. They love me enough to speak to me. They love me enough to encourage me in what is true. They love me enough to challenge the lies that I've been told. And we need to love the people of this world the way God loves them. Love them enough to say, hey, this is not who you are. This is not true. You're more than your gender identity. You're more than your political party. You're more than all these other things that you're identifying with. We cannot keep this vicious cycle going and going and going as the truth is swept under the rug. We have to get off the sidelines. We just have to. If we stay silent, if we remain silent in the face of a culture that is bombarding people with lies, then we're giving them permission to continue to do this. And I'm sorry, but I don't give lies permission. Not in my life and not in anybody's life. So if I believe something is wrong or I believe it's not true, I'm going to say it. And that might not be popular with a lot of people. It might get me a lot of backlash, but I think it's more important to be honest with people and honest with ourselves. You know, because if you start censoring everything you say because you don't want to upset this person or you don't want to upset that person, are you really being honest with yourself? And are you really being honest with the people around you? Because you'll talk to your friends about the things that you find troubling, but then suddenly you get on the internet, you become a whole different person. You're not being honest. And it's time to start being honest with yourself. It's time to start being honest as you stand before God. So if you haven't lost anybody in all of this, chances are you're not being honest with yourself and you're not being honest with the people around you. Truth is going to cost you something. And that's a hard truth for me to swallow. And sometimes we think we're not going to be the exception. That we can stand in the truth, but still not get our hands dirty. We could just ignore it and not comment on it, not say anything. But eventually, the lies of the culture are going to be at your doorstep, and you're going to have to. You're going to have to. And you're going to be faced with a decision. You might as well make it now. What do you stand for? Be somebody that stands firm in your convictions, stands up for what you believe in. Challenge the lies of this world. If you see something that's not true, say something. The worst thing they could do is slap a label on you, at least right now. But no matter what they do, it's not going to strip you of where your identity truly lies. And if we're Christians, we know that the world can have a lot of opinions about us, but God's opinion is what matters above everything. What the Lord thinks of us matters more than anything else in this world. That's what we need to stand on, especially when the lies start coming our way, especially when the attacks start coming our way. We need to remind ourselves of who the Lord says we are. That we are kings, that we are priests, that we are more than conquerors. Because he who lives in us is greater than he who lives in the world. So I challenge you guys, speak up. Get off the sidelines. Stop straddling the fence. Get out there. Use your voice. Preach the good news. Preach against this present age of evil. Stand firm in your convictions. Do not bend. And even if you're standing alone, guys, I want you to know, if you stand for truth, there will always be people standing with you that will come along your side, that will hold your arms up as you engage in this fight. I'll stand with you. I hope you guys have a blessed day. If you like the content that you see, please like and share and comment on this. I'd love to hear from you too. I always like hearing from you guys. And yeah, have a good one. Deuces.